Hey, welcome. In today's world, understanding your customers isn't just nice to have, it's everything. But how do you stop seeing them as one big, faceless crowd and start seeing the real people, the real groups inside it? Well, today we're going to dive into a super powerful machine learning technique that does exactly that.
Seriously, think about it for a second. So much of the marketing we see feels like shouting into the wind, right? You get these generic emails, these one-size-fits-all ads, and they just don't land. And it's because they're treating every single customer like they're the exact same person. And we know that's just not true.
And that really is the heart of the problem. When you try to market to everyone, you end up marketing to no one. So the whole point of this explainer is to show you how to get past that, how to let your data show you the actual, distinct customer groups you should be talking to.
Okay, so let's properly frame this. We're talking about a core business challenge here, one that pretty much every company on the planet faces. But luckily, it has a really smart solution.
And that solution begins with a strategy called customer segmentation. All it means is taking your entire customer base and, instead of seeing it as one giant blob, you divide it into smaller, meaningful groups where people share similar traits. It's the first step to actually personalizing anything. But here's the million-dollar question, right? How in the world do you find these groups? You could take a guess, sure, go with your gut, but there is a much, much smarter way. You let the data itself draw the map for you.
And that brings us to the actual tool that makes all this possible. So we're shifting from the big picture strategy to the specific technique that gets the job done.
So let me introduce you to K-means clustering. It's a type of machine learning that's called unsupervised, which is just a fancy way of saying you don't have to tell it what to look for. You just hand it your data, and it automatically finds the natural groupings, the clusters, all by itself. It's literally designed to find hidden patterns that a human might never spot.
So what's this algorithm actually looking at? Well, in our example, it's pretty straightforward stuff. It's seeing key customer details, but we're going to focus on two big ones: annual income and a spending score, which is just a number from 1 to 100 that scores how much a customer tends to buy. These two factors are going to be our guides.
Now, I know machine learning algorithm can sound kind of intimidating, but the process actually follows a really clear and logical blueprint. So let's just walk through it step by step.
It really just boils down to these three main phases. First, we've got to get our data ready. Second, and this is crucial, we have to figure out the right number of groups. That's our K. And then finally, we get to the fun part, we unleash the algorithm.
It's easy to want to skip step one, but it is absolutely critical. See, K-means can get confused by the scale of data. If income is in the tens of thousands, but the spending score is only 1 to 100, the algorithm might think income is way more important just because the number is bigger. So by cleaning and standardizing the data, we're basically making sure that every piece of information gets an equal vote. That's how we get accurate results.
Okay, this brings us to maybe the most important question in this whole process. How many groups should we even be looking for? Should it be 2, 3, maybe 10? How do we possibly know the best, most optimal number of clusters?
And here we go again, we don't guess. The data itself gives us the answer using this really clever technique called the elbow method. And trust me, it's a fantastic way to find that perfect sweet spot.
So here's how it works. We basically test out different numbers of clusters, 1, then 2, then 3, and so on. And we measure how much better the groups get each time. At first, you can see the quality of the grouping improves really fast. Big, sharp drops. But then, look what happens when we go from 4 clusters to 5. The improvement really starts to slow down. That bend in the graph, right there, it looks just like an elbow in your arm. And that's our signal. It's the point of diminishing returns. It tells us that 5 is the sweet spot for our data.
So there we have it. The elbow method has spoken. For our data, the optimal number of customer segments we should create is 5.
All right, now for the really exciting part. We've prepped our data, and we know our magic number is 5. It's finally time to see what K-means can actually find.
So with everything set up perfectly, we hit go. We run the K-means algorithm and tell it find 5 distinct groups in our customer data.
And this is the result. It's brilliant. Just imagine a big chart where every single dot is a customer, plotted by how much they make and how much they spend. A minute ago, it was just a messy cloud of dots. But after running K-means, it's like magic. Every single dot is instantly assigned a color, revealing 5 totally distinct clusters. It is pure chaos, transformed into pure clarity.
And to make these groups even easier to understand, we can pinpoint something called the centroid for each one.
The best way to think about a centroid is as the center of gravity for that cluster. It represents the most typical, the most average customer profile for that entire segment. It's the heart of the group.
Okay, this is awesome. We have our 5 groups. But so what? What does this actually mean for the business? How do we turn these cool-looking data clusters into a real-world money-making strategy?
This right here is the final, and honestly, the most important step of all. Because turning these raw clusters into insights you can actually do something with, that's what drives better decisions. The data is just a bunch of numbers until we figure out what it's telling us to do next.
And this is the payoff. Just look at what we found. Cluster 1, our high-income, high-spenders, they are perfect for a VIP program. But then you've got Cluster 3, the high-income, low-spenders. You need a totally different playbook for them, maybe exclusive previews to get them excited. Then there's Cluster 4, the low-income, high-spenders. They love to shop, but they're watching their wallets, which makes them the perfect audience for big sales and digital coupons. All of a sudden, we're not guessing anymore. Each group gets its own tailored strategy.
So let's just sum this all up. Customer segmentation is the strategy that stops you from shouting at a crowd and lets you start having real conversations with clear groups. KMeans is the amazing tool that finds those groups for you, automatically, using real data. And the result? It's smarter, it's more efficient, and it's way more effective marketing.
And that really brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. This isn't just some abstract theory. It's a practical tool that can uncover some pretty profound insights. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What hidden customer groups, what amazing untapped opportunities are just sitting there